The Dynamic Architecture Catalyst for 2020. Too many telcos are vertically integrated and require large IT projects to introduce new products and services into market, let alone assure them ongoing once the customer has purchased those. Our champions, Telstra and Vodafone, are looking to see how a model-driven approach can deliver dynamic fulfillment with automatic population of the CMDB within the assurance domain. Our participants have worked together through the use of the TM Forum open APIs to deliver both an onboarding scenario and a fulfillment scenario that automatically populates the CMDB as well as dynamically fulfills the product orders being received from the customers. Let's start by looking at the Fujitsu Service Orchestrator, and we can see that we have three specific SD-WAN services created: an SD-WAN circuit, an SD-WAN endpoint, and an SD-WAN uni. If we switch over to Telflow now and look in the Telflow product catalog, let's have a look at our SD-WAN product, and we can see an SD-WAN access here. It has a number of attributes and relationships with other services. So what I want to do now is to create a new relationship with the SD-WAN uni service that was automatically imported from the Fujitsu Service Orchestrator. I'm going to put this specification into revision mode so that I can edit the specification, and I'm going to add a new aggregated relationship. We'll give it a cardinality of 1, so make it a mandatory relationship. And we're going to search for our service. And it's called uni, so we'll type that in, select the uni, and you can see that it's come up with that uni service. I'm going to hide this from the operators so that they have a less complicated view of the world. And we can see that we've created this relationship. The specification is still in draft, so I'll move that into a pipeline and then publish the specification. This has automatically created the service and product templates within the ServiceNow CMDB. We've seen how fast a telco can introduce new services and products into market. Now let's look at the customer experience for ordering a product and how that product is now dynamically fulfilled and populated within the CMDB, the service and product records, so that that product can be properly assured. From the Telflow portal, I'm going to create a new sales order. We'll give it a reference, an ID, and we're going to select an SD-WAN ready access. We'll select the customer that we're creating this order on behalf of and put in a purchase order number or similar. What I'm going to do is add an SD-WAN access here, and we can see that it's defined that we have to also have an SD-WAN virtual circuit and SD-WAN underlay. In this particular case, because what I'm doing is adding another access tail to an existing SD-WAN interconnection, what I'm going to do is select an existing SD-WAN underlay that's already in our inventory. Now I'm going to also add an SD-WAN virtual circuit, so I'm going to order a new one of those, and we need to configure these particular products that we're ordering. So we'll put in a customer reference, a priority, and you can see there's a number of characteristics that I can set there. I'm happy with those, so I'll let them save that and let that continue. Now let's configure the SD-WAN access itself, and I need to select a site. So I'm going to use the type ahead addressing, and I'm going to select my site. We'll see the pin there. And we can see instantly that that's gone off and done a service qualification request, and we can see that it's serviceable. I can look at previous orders and inventory for that particular site. If I'm happy with that site, let's add that site. I'm going to put in a reference for this particular product order, and I can change the link type, the access type. There's a number of attributes here that I can set. I'll set the connection speed and so forth. If we're happy with those configurations, let's save those changes, close that down. Now, we're ready to place our order. Now, if I had quoting enabled here, we could potentially be generating a quote and getting customer approval. In this particular case, we don't, so we're just going to submit our sales order. What that's going to do is push the service orders southbound to the Fujitsu Service Orchestrator. So we can see that our underlay product is already active and our SD-WAN virtual circuit and SD-WAN access are in a pending state. We can look at the messages being sent southbound to Fujitsu Service Orchestrator. In this case, we can see the order for the SD-WAN endpoint and the SD-WAN uni, those two service orders being sent to the Fujitsu Service Orchestrator. And if we have a look at the message coming back from Fujitsu, we can see that that has an initial state. Now let's go back up to the sales order and we'll have a look at the other service, in this case the virtual circuit, and we'll check the system messages for that one. And again, we can see the southbound order for the virtual circuit has been sent southbound. There's a virtual circuit service that supports this virtual circuit product. See the service details. And we can see the initial response back from the Fujitsu Service Orchestrator. Now, if we switch over to the Fujitsu Service Orchestrator and refresh the incoming service orders, we can see that we have the two service orders. So one for the virtual circuit service in this case, and the other one is for the pair of services, the SD-WAN endpoint and the SD-WAN uni. So they both have an initial state, as we can see there. What we need to do is to edit this and change the state to acknowledged. We've inserted this manual step so that the process doesn't complete in short order and we miss the demonstration capabilities. So let's go back to the service orders and we can see that we now have one of the service orders in progress. And from this point on, the fulfillment of that particular service order will complete without any human interaction. If we jump over to the NFV portal, we can see there the ID that's been created for that particular service order, and we can see the current state of that order. If we look at the topology and find that particular service ID, we can see how that's been deployed within our SD-WAN network infrastructure and the NFVs that it's being deployed upon and so forth. Now let's jump back to the Service Orchestrator view of the services. So we have a service there in a running state, and we can see that that particular service order is now completed. That's for the virtual circuit. Now if we go back to the service orders, we can again do the acknowledge service order for the SD-WAN endpoint and uni order. So we'll set that to acknowledged. That will automatically be fulfilled by the Fujitsu Service Orchestrator. We can see it has an acknowledged state currently. And it's changed automatically to in progress as we refresh it. Let's keep refreshing. We can see within that particular service order there are two order items, both currently in progress. Let's refresh it again. We can see order item 1 is now complete. And we can see that the service order now has a completed state because both of the order items are complete. Now let's jump back to Telflow and we'll have a look at our sales order, the SD-WAN order 01, and we can see now that it is a complete state. So the products within that sales order are complete. That tells us that all of the underlying services are also complete, and we can look at the system messages. If we go down to the later messages, we can see that was our initial state. Go down, we have multiple messages for each of the state changes, and finally we get to a completed state. Let's jump back up to our sales order and we'll look at the virtual circuit order. Same deal, you can see that the final message there is completed. So Fujitsu has notified Telflow that that service order is complete. Now if we go back to the details page and click on the inventory entry here, we can see that the service ID that has been instantiated by Fujitsu is listed there within the product inventory. That linkage is really important when it gets to the CMDB and the way that ServiceNow is able to relate the product instances and service instances. If we have a look at the SD-WAN access and we look at the inventory for that, what we'll see here is that there are in fact two service IDs, so the Uni and the endpoint services, and we can see that the current state of that product is active. Let's jump over to ServiceNow, and what we can see here is the initial portal view from ServiceNow. So this gives an operator within the telco a holistic view of all of the products and services that have been ordered. And we can see the SD-WAN access and the SD-WAN underlay network products are here now. Let's have a look at the SD-WAN access product. So we can see the details from the product inventory have automatically been transferred over to the ServiceNow CMDB. All of these characteristics have come from either the product inventory in this case, or from rules within ServiceNow to define who owns this specific product, the approval groups, management groups, and so forth. But in the short description and the version, you'll note that this information has come directly from the product inventory within DGIT Systems Telflow platform. You can see the various characteristics that were configured within Telflow are now available within the CMDB as well. These could feed into specific fields if desired and influence the way that the assurance platform works against this specific product. So we can see things like the Uni frame size, the SD-WAN Uni characteristics. Let's have a look at the underlay network. So you'll remember this was already in the inventory, and so we're looking at this same inventory item here. We can see that it's an MPLS link type. We can see who the customer is for and so forth. The various, like the link bandwidth and other characteristics that are associated with that underlay. If we jump back to our telecommunications dashboard and scroll down towards the bottom here, we can see the various configuration instances, or CIs, that have been instantiated for this particular telco. Now we can expand these CIs out, and in there we can see our SD-WAN virtual circuit, our SD-WAN underlay, SD-WAN Uni service, and so forth. Let's jump in and have a look at the virtual circuit. So we can see the information about that SD-WAN virtual circuit product. We can see who the customer is. We can see the various characteristics at the product layer. We can, if we need to, define the discovery source, but this has come directly from DGIT Systems Telflow product, so it's already there. We can look at the operational status. Again, this has come from the product inventory within Telflow. We can look at related items down the bottom of the screen there, and we can define a number of other attributes that we might assign to this CI that we might need for assurance purposes but may not be needed in their fulfillment stages. If we have a look at how this CI is related to other instances within the CMDB, we can see our Vodafone underlay is at the top there, and that's related directly to an SD-WAN access. So this is a simplified view of the structure of the relationships between the products at the product layer and the services southbound from Fujitsu, and we can actually expand this out to get a more comprehensive view of the relationships that are stored within the CMDB. This enables us to determine where the fault lies and what it relates to and what other products or services may be affected by a product. So in our scenario, a customer has just called up and has a problem with their SD-WAN product. So let's create a new incident. And we'll put in the caller ID, Joe employee. We'll select what type of subcategory it is, and from the CMDB we'll select the SD-WAN virtual circuit. We can put in a short description. The link seems to be no longer up, and we can assign it into a service category, so SD-WAN Enterprise Solutions in this case. We'll define the contact type, and let's save that. So what we've done is to create an incident ticket so that the network teams can now be allocated appropriately. In this case, the network coordinators is the assigned group, and they will receive notifications that this ticket has been logged and they need to go off and do something in order to determine what has gone wrong and repair the situation. So now we're going to create a case based on this ticket. And we're able to look at other cases associated with this ticket. If we have a look at the operator workspace, we can see a snapshot view of the current tickets and what's critical, what's not critical, and so forth. So what did we learn throughout this exercise of bringing these three major participants together, DGIT Systems, Fujitsu, and ServiceNow? We were able to onboard new products and services with no coding. We were able to fulfill those products and services, again, with no coding. We were able to populate the CMDB automatically so that those products and services can be completely assured, again, with no IT involvement. This gives the telco a great deal of flexibility to be able to dynamically create new products and services and to be able to assure them without doing lots of manual tasks. Thanks for watching the Dynamic Architecture Catalyst demo.